Okay, we are live.
Selamun alaikum. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, based on the time zone. First, I apologize for being late to start. It is most likely related to the daylight saving change. You know, the daylight saving in United States just made it confused. It always happens. This one is no exception. But we will start. We are just starting, inshallah. One of our speakers, Colin Turner, has not joined yet. Hopefully he will be joining. Most likely it might be because of this daylight saving issue. But we have brother Salih from Turkey. I'm so happy to see him today. And also we have our volunteer contributors. So we like this angels topic discussion very much. We want to be close to angels, and I hope Allah God makes us close to angels every time. So this is the last part of the angels topic. At least this is what we are planning for now. Just to remind, last week we talked about angels with respect to how it is told in 24th word by Sayyid Nursi. And it was amazing piece, this 24th word, as we mentioned, because here this treatise starts with from Qur'an chapter Taha, verse saying that, Allah has the beautiful names, all beautiful names belong to Allah as meaning. So with this start, one part of this treatise was about the creation in general, and Malaika angels are part of this creation. And we were trying to understand how this Malaika creation, angels creation, to be understood with respect to their roles in creation. So we will go with this 24th words creation related part with respect to angels. And after that, also we will also look at another treatise by Sayyid Nursi, which talks about some fruits of believing in angels. Okay, let me start reading and we will discuss and try to understand together. The angels who are in the position of shepherd and farmer do not bear any resemblance to human beings, for their supervision is purely for the sake of Almighty God, and in His name and through His power and command. Their supervision of animals consists only of beholding the manifestations of lordship in the species where they are employed, studying the manifestations of power and mercy in it, making known to that species the divine commands by way of a sort of inspiration, and in some way ordering the voluntary actions of the species. Their supervision of the plants in the fields of the earth in particular consists of representing the plant's glorification in the angelic tongue, proclaiming in the angelic tongue the salutations the plants offer to the all-glorious Creator through their lives, and employing the faculties given to plants correctly and directing them towards certain aims and ordering them to some extent. These duties of the angels are meritorious actions of a sort by reason of the angels' faculty of will. Indeed, they are a kind of worship and adoration. But the angels have no real power of disposal, for an everything is a stamp peculiar to the Creator of all things. Another's hand cannot interfere in creation. That is to say, this sort of work of the angels forms their worship. It is not a custom like with human beings. Okay, I stop here before going to the second part of today's discussion. I want to start with Brother Salih. What do you want to say, on these parts that I particularly read this time?
Bismillah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. First of all, thank you, brothers, for having me. And I have to first admit that this is a really subtle and very difficult topic, I guess, in the Risale-i Nur, because we're basically talking about angels that many of us, at least myself, did not see ever. And we are kind of trying to understand what the angels are, what they are doing, what are their scope, what is the span of their duties in this universe are from behind the veil. So they are a guide to us. But Alhamdulillah, Ustad Nursi is coming up with very succinct and clear explanations about what angels are and what they are not. And in this, so the first sentence is very striking because Ustad is starting off with a very comparison between angels and humans, and he's saying that there is no resemblance to human beings, and so he's explaining why this is, and the reason is explained by three premises in this first sentence. Ustad is saying that the supervision of the angels are purely for the sake of Allah and in His name and through His power and command. So there are basically three premises here. First of all, supervision of angels is purely for the sake of Allah. And again, their supervision is purely in His names. And lastly, their supervision is purely through Allah's power and command. So if we go step back a little bit and then again remind ourselves that Ustad is making a very like brief comparison between the angels and the humans, there are two dimensions along which we differ significantly. First off, the purity of the purpose, the purity of the goal of whatever angels are doing is unmatchable. We cannot match them in terms of purity in the purpose, because even if we eat or drink or sleep, our nafs has a share in it. We want it because it feels maybe delicious to eat a particular food, or even if we are supposed to avoid it just because we want our nafs to attain that particular pleasure, we go and eat that maybe dessert. So in terms of purity, in the purity dimension, angels are unique. And the second dimension that the comparison, we have to make a comparison between humans and angels is angels have no problem in attributing all the affairs in this cosmos to their creator, Allah. So, I mean, this is kind of a manevi dua, because attributing something to someone is not done in action, but we are often having difficulty in attributing the manifestations of names of Allah to Allah. So in that respect, angels are again kind of unmatchable. So they have no problem in attributing the affairs in the universe to their creator. So I think these two dimensions are particularly important, and we have to keep in mind while we are, further articulating the material.
Salih, can we elaborate a little bit more on this point? I think it is wonderful. I'm trying to consider more, about attributing the names of Allah to some other agencies. I mean, human beings can do that, but Melaike or angels can't. Is this related with worship in general? So the first point obviously very related with worship that you mentioned, but also this is contributing towards the pureness of worship in general, right? This attributing of agency.
Okay, I mean that's a good point, and so maybe we should talk a little bit about the duties and the scope of duties of angels in this cosmos, because I mean in the following sentence, Ustad is making further explanations about the duties and scope of angels, and Ustad is basically listing four duties, basic duties of angels. In particular angels who are in the position of shepherd of animals. So one of them is beholding the manifestations of lordship in the species where they are employed. And the second is studying mutala, and the third is inspirations, ilhamat, and the fourth is here the translation says ordering, but I guess arrangement is a better word because in the original, Ustad says tanzim.
Ordering in the meaning of arrangement or...
Yeah, I think that Shukran Abla made a choice about this, but to me it makes more sense if I mean, ordering is I would as a non-English speaker would get confused about what order means. In this case, order is I guess more close to commanding, but in the original text it is saying tanzim, so arrangement or organizing. Could have been a better word choice. I'm not sure. Uh, and Ustad is particularly saying that whatever the angels are doing, they are making mushahada, muta'ala, ilham, and tanzim, whatever they are doing, the scope of these particular duties are constrained and fixed. And the scope is whatever species that these angels are supposed to be shepherding. Say, for example, if you're talking about, let's say, a sheep, whatever meleki melekel or melek is shepherding sheep, from what I understand, as I understand from the text, would not be able to fulfill the same duty if it were assigned to, I don't know, a cat. So Allah is creating an animal, and there are particular types of manifestations on that particular animal, and this is peculiar and particular to that animal. And Allah at the same time is creating and kind of attaching an angel to that animal and all the animals of that particular species. And these angels are kind of crafted particularly to make mushahada, mutala, and ilham and tanzim on that particular animal or species. So in that respect, angels, the scope of angels is kind of constrained because by definition, this is how Allah has chosen to create them. And at the same time, angels are, as Ustad says, they are slaves and bondsmen. So they cannot go outside the scope that Allah has chosen for them. So in that respect, we are different from angels. I mean, what I mean is pretty much nobody can be constrained and confined to a particular hobby or action or choice. We have free will, and extrema of this free will is unbounded. It goes from minus infinity to plus infinity. But when it comes to the angels, their scope, their sphere or circle of action is very well defined, and they are not even questioning this. They don't go outside this scope.
Wonderful. By the way, if volunteers want to chime in, please, you can chime in. I will be moving to the next slide. So we looked at the duty of angels with respect to inspiring to animals. It's kind of shepherding. This time with the plants. Salih, how is it different with the plants? Angels, let's say taking the duty with plants. So how do you understand how this is different? Last week, we mentioned a little bit of this, but maybe it's good to remember once again and see how angels are different than the ones who are related to animals.
Okay. I'm missing Colin Hoca after your question more and more. But there are subtle differences between the angels who are supervising plants and those supervising animals.
Or let me help you with the questions. I'm sure you should be comfortable in this. Why do we need this distinction? When we, as ordinary person, when we look at the plants, how does it affect our look at the reality of angels attaching to these plants versus, if I don't see the angels inside or within the plants, how would it be different? How does it add value to us?
I see. So what is the value in interpreting or explaining the angels in two different ways? And the differences is due to because some of the angels are supervising animals and some of them are supervising inanimate beings and plants. So why do we have to come up with different interpretations? Is it really required? I don't know if I understood the question correct.
That's right.
But I think this goes all back to the Anna, the ego topic, and also the 23rd flash, which is about nature and causal relations. So please help me. But what I understand is when we look at animals, we see some sort of free will. It's not as free as it is for the humans, but the situation with the animals is not the same as the situation with the plants. So animals are somewhat closer to humans, and in terms of that they have appetite, they make some choices. So for humans, it is, I guess, easier to attribute the acts or actions of animals to animals. And for plants are closer in their nature to jamadat, the inanimate beings, and whatever causal relations that we attribute to inanimate beings and see those relations as the creator of whatever phenomenon taking place in the sphere of the inanimate beings, we can fall into the same pitfall. We can fall into the same falls that we can fall into a difficult situation when we are interpreting the phenomenon taking place in the plants. So, for example, when we drop a stone, the earth pulls it, and we attribute this action to gravitational forces. It is because we do not see any will in this action. So I guess nobody would attribute a will to stone nor to earth. And the same situation applies to plants. Since all of these lessons or lectures and even Quran is for human, the explanations of Quran and Rasulullah والسلام, and Ustad and other scholars happen to be different. And this is because for different sicknesses of the soul, different remedies are offered by the doctor. So in essence, I guess the role of angels are pretty well defined in the universe, But our sickness is in terms of uh, misinterpreting what's going on with what is going on with the plants and with the animals are different. Hence comes different explanations. And this is my take. I don't know if this is.
Great, great. I think it's very nice. Um, I think I can't see the name, but I see the raising of hands that I
Yeah,
mute.
sorry,
Unmute.
that's Mustafa.
Mustafa, please chime in.
So yeah, I mean, another thing that came to my mind about like the angels representing these plants, right, and how it changes our look, our outlook, or how we look at them, might be in the way that we look at plants as these unconscious beings, which serve us, or which and they do serve us, serve our needs, but our respect for them in terms of their being um, a creation of Allah, and also an official that is that has duties of um, glorification, duties of, right, because we know that right from the Quran, uh, you know سبح لله ما في السماوات والأرض, right? I mean, everything in the earth and the skies glorify Allah, glorify God. And what we uh, know when we see angels, right, as representatives of these plans to Allah, um, I think it changes our outlook. It changes how we look at them, not merely as these unconscious beings that are out there. If I just cut it off, it, there won't be any consequences. um, our respect to them, I think, right, increases by a lot, because they become almost our equal in one sense, in terms of like glorifying um, God's names and His attributes by showing them, but also through the angel seeing them, representing them. So there's a constant glorification going on through a conscious mind of an angel, and that kind of changes, how I really look at things and how I respect the environment, the things that we think are unconscious, much we start to care. That's, I guess, my 2 cents about like how, especially for plants, like any like unconscious things like plants, and having an angel representing them.
Great. I also understand in a similar way that you see. So since all these beauty is created, and most of the beauty is for us actually represented by plants, right? These flowers, fruits. So when we look at nature, what are we really affected is, I mean, compared to animals, they're not really animals, right? They are the beauties manifested through plants and flowers and fruits as part of plants. Um, so these beauties should be really glorified. I mean, should be submitted to the real address of the giver of these beauties. And since there are, uh, uncountable many of these beauties, there should be existing spirits with consciousness, what we call angels, to be able to understand and also represent their glorifications. Wonderful. By the way, I have a tough question, Salih. This is in the first place to you. From Nafi Yalçın from Turkey. Thank you, Nafi Abi, asking this question. I would like Salih to explain a bit what the angel's duty of supervision involve. I think this is with respect to animals. Since we switched to plants, this question was asked at the time, but no harm in going a little bit back. Is it a part of the angel's duty to intervene as a tiger attacks a ship and kills it with no mercy?
All right. Okay. That's a tough question and goes to kind of is related to the evil question, I guess. But what quote? One quote that I
Or maybe
remember.
you can decompose this question. How do we perceive when something happens in the nature? How do we perceive, and where is Malaika in this picture? Maybe.
Okay. All right. So, uh, so first of all, so what I remember from some other parts in the Risale-i Nur is that Ustad is saying, for example, a lion attacks a deer or some sort of innocent animal, and then the lion itself is shot to kill uh, by the what is that? So
Hunter, maybe.
sorry.
Hunter, maybe.
Yeah, hunter. So it's this is not a the situation is not straightforward. But what I understand from this sentence that I just tried to refer to, it means that animals, although I mean they have their nature, they have their kind of biases due to their nature. I mean, the hunger might be dominant compared to mercy that is definitely in every being. Uh, but animals are not supposed to, as far as I understand, listen to whatever ilhamat that they are given to. And since mercy and rahmah in the universe is dominant, like light is dominant or essential, iman is essential, nur is essential, and all the other things that might be related to evil are that they exist just to become a wahid qiyasi, a point of comparison. So as the lion by killing a sheep is kind of um, contradicting or conflicting with this reality of Rahmaniyah in the universe. Ustad says that their duty is to eat the corpses, the dead animals' bodies, carrions, uh, and do some sort of cleaning in the nature. Because by eating dead animals, these animals like lion or uh, maybe some other birds like vulture are kind of fulfilling their duties for the sake of name Quddus. Uh, but as far as I understand, animals do have their own choices, but to a degree that is far lesser than ours. And they are not supposed to listen to what their Melek Ilham is telling them. And Ustad says that eventually such an animal would be shot to kill by an hunter.
Yeah, as what they deserve, since they're in a way getting out of order. It's a nice way of reading. Mustafa, is it you raising the hand?
Assalamualaikum. It's me, Jazmi.
Cezmi abi,
Yes.
we are listening. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Maybe regarding the question of Nafi abi, we can say, thank you, brother. Salih, brother, he has said enough, in fact, but I can say maybe adding to his comment. So they are a tiger or any other beast by spoiling their nature. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them also some animalistic feelings together with that they are also subject to the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for example, laws of mercy, showing mercy to an animal, an innocent or a young animal, for example. They are also subject to the laws of Allah. They should not kill an animal other than they are share. So Allah SWT has made the dead bodies, dead animals for their share of food. So if they spoil their nature, so they will be, of course, punished accordingly. So that's that action, killing an young of the, for example, sheep or
This is
deer.
what we call monster, right? Whenever
Yeah,
animals get out of order, we call them monster.
So it's not related with the angelic inspiration. It's misusing the animalistic feelings, maybe going extreme of the animalistic feelings. So it happens to us also, human beings, maybe in great extent. And another comment over your question, Harun abi, you defined that what's the relation with the plants. Angels are representing their ibadah. How does it help our reflection? It came to my mind. Maybe we studied this in the previous sessions. At the very beginning of this 29th word studies, defining that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created endless adornments in the universe. So we are observing some of them. We are observing, witnessing some of them in the sea, in the mountains. Maybe we try to, for example, reflect upon them, and we are aware that we are not enough for that duty. So, for example, I visited a cave in Tokat. Maybe you heard of Ballıca cave. There are maybe very beautiful adornments Allah has created there. I can see it maybe apparently, those who are appearing at the surface of the cave, but in the inner part of that cave, how much beauties Allah has created. So knowing that angels are glorifying Allah with those beauties, they are created for that adornment. Otherwise, it will be meaningless. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is looking at His beauty foremost for His own observation. This is enough, in fact. But He has also created the angels for the duty of witnessing the beauties of Allah, miracles of Allah. So knowing that angels are glorifying Him, glorifying Allah with those beauties, so it gives us also a pleasure. So Allah has created those beauties, and angels are enough for the duty. We are deficient in that respect. We cannot comprehend all the beauties. Yes, it may help us.
Thank you, Cezmi abi. This takes us to the second part. Actually, we are just timely. If anybody has contribution before we go to the second part, I will.
Actually, Harun abi, I have a few comments about why Ustad is coming up with different explanations about the types of supervisions of angels for plants and animals. One obvious reason is, please correct me if I'm, I don't know if this would be wrong, but there might be a lot to add on to this. But animals have their own spirit, they have their own soul, ruh. However, the plants do not have any ruh. So the names manifested on the plants are kind of the manifestation in terms of the material realm, the tangible or manifestations which take place in the materialistic way are kind of represented, because all the plants are at the end of the day made out of elements. However, the meanings are kind of not represented at all, so they're kind of floating. But in terms of the animals, these meanings, the non-material aspect of these meanings are represented, or they are proclaimed, and maybe they are arranged by the soul, the ruh that is given to the animal. So in that respect, the duty of the angels in terms of supervising the plants is in that respect different, because some part of the duty is that the malaika is bearing in plants are partially kind of covered by the soul, the ruh of the animals. For example, Ustad is saying that, for example, angels are proclaiming in the angelic tongue the salutations the plants offer to the all-glorious Creator through their lives. However, say, for example, as an example, take a cat. So this is a living being, and proclamation and proclaiming the meanings that are manifested in them are partially represented or heralded by the cat itself. For example, it meows, or it performs some sort of cleaning, or it jumps, does many, many things that a plant cannot do. And all of these are actions are, for a superficial eye, is attributed to the nature of the plant. Oh, cat does this, cats jump, or cats meow, or they lick themselves to clean. However, these are actually proclamation or heralding the names that are manifested on them. These, like jumps or the sounds that they make, are not some random things, but they're actually proclamations or their way of saluting their creator. And they also have appetite, which kind of is directing their faculties to their goals. So Allah has given animals appetite, and by following the appetite and the joy of satisfying their appetite, they fulfill their duties. But when we look at the plants, we don't see an appetite as in the meaning that we see, in the sense that we see in the animals. So a malaika is kind of directing the animals to the directions so that the plant satisfies or fulfills its duty. So going back to where I started, animals have ruh, they have spirits, but plants do not have. And we are considering the role of angels for plants and animals. We have to take this fact into consideration. Then I guess the matter will be more obvious. I mean, what I mean by matter is why Ustad is coming up with different explanations about how angels perform their supervision to animals and plants in a different way. I don't know if this makes sense.
Definitely, it makes wonderful sense, and I appreciate this detailed explanation. Wonderful. What I understand, in short, you are saying, so animals have their own spirits, as we say. So when we look at the cat, we see the spirits, when we look at it, because we say cat, or we can say a person like cat, so obviously the spirits of these different animals, turtle, for instance, turtle has a wisdom type of spirit, let's say, or we can represent people, like turtle, meaning that they have full of wisdom whatsoever. Even we see this in cartoons and in many novels. So the particular reason is that, as you mentioned, animals has their unique spirits. Yeah, that's wonderful, I think. But when we look at the plants, yeah, they can't, since they are not as dynamic, or they can't manifest or reveal this type of emotions, let's say. Its malaika's duty with plants should be really different, kind of representing or attaching a soul or spirit to the plants. I think this was wonderful.
Okay, I mean, one little note to Nafi brother's question. Actually, you started saying that angel of an animal gives inspiration, gives ilham to the animal. But for plants, you started saying angels direct them towards certain aims. So Ustad is using ilham, inspiration, for animals, but for plants, Ustad is using tevcih etmek, or directing, turning
Yeah,
the...
since they don't have spirits, it's yeah.
Yeah, so inspiration is kind of a second or third order control for engineers, let me tell. So it's not a zeroth order control. You don't, the angel does not tell the animal where to go. It's just an inspiration that is given to the animal. The animal may or may not do that. So you see, I mean, it's not like you take a glass from this point on the table and you put it onto another point on the table. But it's more like you're poking your friend. Hi, can you come this way? So inspiration is like, why don't you come this way? But tevcih etmek, directing someone or something to a particular aim, is like taking a glass and putting it where it is supposed to be. So the lion who is killing the innocent, poor sheep has the choice to not do that by following the inspiration that is whispered to him. But he also has the choice to not follow the inspiration too.
And also maybe we can call it attraction, right? One attraction is by inspiring angels. Another attraction is by the faculties of the animal, which gets pleasure in the first place by definition.
Exactly.
So will you be attracted by the pleasure of killing an innocent animal, or will you be attracted by the inspiration of the angel? So there is no clear winner, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, the word choices in the Risale-i Nur are
very
they're very
as you draw our attention, they mean a lot of things to reveal. Thank you. This is very nice distinction, ilhamat versus tevcihat.
Yeah, and Ustad is not choosing different vocabulary just for the sake of making this text a more rhetorically nice looking text.
Absolutely.
This is not the case. The words refer to meanings, and if a word is chosen for a particular topic, then look at the meaning. It's not just to make the text more colorful. Let me put it in this way.
Great. Brother Mustafa wants to say something.
Thank you very much for the explanation. It's very clear, but just wanted to add 2 cents to it. So when Ustad is giving the example of shepherds, for the animals, when we think about the position of angels, I haven't done any shepherd, position, but what I heard from the farmers, each sheep has a certain kind of personality. Sometimes a sheep can be stubborn, maybe they have more addiction to the grass. So when the shepherd has a goal to reach 1 kilometer away to a pasture or a grassland, on the way, the sheep can go violation, going to someone else's farm and eating the crops over there. So a throw, it might be a kind of a stone throw from the observer, which is the observer is the shepherd. So maybe the position of the angels are in a similar way. They don't have 100% control of that animal, but as Salih, Abi, and you mentioned that, they are just guiding them to reach to the destination. So kind of they are helping to be a more conscious and finding to the straight path. Thank you.
Thank you. Wonderful. I think very nice perspectives to understand about angels, and also responding to Brother Nafi's question. Thank you very much. I think it's good time to maybe, these passages, we already talked a little bit of these.
We didn't talk too much about
Do you have something to say on this slide?
Uh,
Maybe what is remarkable to me is comparing again humans with angels. In the last sentence, it says it's not a custom like with human beings. So
So there's a misconception that I have fallen, and maybe some other brothers might have fallen to this. But Ustad here is saying that the duties of the angels are actions, meritorious actions of a sort, by reason of angels' faculty of will. So Ustad is saying that angels have the faculty of will, so they are not like robotic machines pre-programmed, and they have to choose whatever the programmer has chosen for them. This is not what I understand. So angels have the faculty of will, because in the original text we started saying cüz-i ihtiyarileriyle,
mhm.
bir nevi kisttir. Cüz-i ihtiyari is free will.
Yeah, we discussed this last at the last meeting. So
Okay.
this, of course, will is not as the free will as human or jinn has, because obviously Malaika are not subject to examination, because they don't have faculty of akal. Although they are conscious, they can't. They don't have the faculty of akal and nafs, you know, which obviously makes them a different creation. And we are trying to understand why they are created in the first place through the passages that we just walk over. But as you say, they are neither soul machines, you know, programmed and released. Obviously, they are doing what they are doing with their will.
I guess here the catch is whatever they do, I'm not going to name it, but whatever they do, they never go out the scope that Allah has defined for them. And there's no chance of them kind of conflicting or contradicting with the divine purpose. So in that respect, we are different. So we have the power of will, and we can go beyond the borders that Allah has defined for us. Okay, I mean, if this is already discussed, and I guess I remember this discussion from the
Yeah,
previous
last week we talked about this a little bit, about the will of angels. It's yeah. Thanks again, drawing the attention. Anything contributing to understanding the true nature of angels also helps us, you know, to realize everything in the true version, let's say. Okay, Mustafa, is it you or Cezmi abi? I can't see the name.
Yeah. Just a very small comment, like, and I don't want to like open the a can of worms, of course, but just like maybe calling them not having akal, you know, I don't know the phenomenological meaning of akal in this case, but like if we understand it like a thinking capability, I think they do have it, right? In the sense that, for example, they're able to, with Allah's permission, perceive that, for example, humankind will shed blood on earth, and then they ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you know, why are you creating, right? It's not, of course, an objection. It is more of understanding the wisdom behind the creation of human beings. But as mentioned in Surah Baqarah, right, they are asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala why human beings are being created on earth. So they have the ability to think, if we consider like akal in that sense. But yeah, I mean, I agree that their free will is only between good or the other good. So I think of this as more like a human being who does not really have this veil of causes or veil, any veil between like Allah's actions and him, seeing that like everything is open and there is no like an examination anymore, because everything is clearly under Allah's control, and see all the beauty in Allah's creation, and then they what they can choose is there is no way to choose bad, because everything is clearly seen at that point by them. But just wanted to point that out, like when the word akal is mentioned, I kind of became a bit confused, but I wanted to just clarify this small point about this.
Yeah. Thank you, Mustafa. When I was, let's say, relatively earlier stage of reading Risale-i Nur, my verdict was Melaike has akal, but by the time I switched, particular reason is that when I look at the 29th word, which is about Melaike, we said Ustad Said Nursi is very, very careful with the words he is using, because, he's a real scholar. So you don't see any attributes with respect to akal. He doesn't call Melaike zi akal. He says zi shur a lot, but in Risale-i Nur in general, and particularly in 29th words, you don't see any attributes like zi akal. And particularly, I think it's, as you say, matter of understanding the phenomenology of akal, what it really means, what it corresponds to. We see some flashes of reflection on Melaike side, but we don't see a strong quality of akal as we have, as humans have. And it's in line with they're not responsible, right? I mean, we know as religion, nobody's responsible unless they have akal. So we know Melaike is not responsible as well.
Interesting. So, Harun Abi, what would you say about the angels studying the manifestations of power and mercy? Because in the previous slides, I guess I started saying that
Previous one, let's go to this one.
Study. I'm not claiming that Melaike has akal, but I'm just trying to put the pieces.
Right. Actually, I think this kind of shocking is important for us to consider. Also, I think the key is with 24th word. Still, I'm trying to understand further, the creation of the universe and this 4 different type of, let's say, employees employed in creation. I think these are very important. It also gives us some clues. So, Melaike just have consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
So consciousness without reasoning, of course, English is a burden also. Let's say pondering deeply with consciousness, it is perfection, which is attribute to human beings. That's the value of being human, I would say. But we don't know how it feels without deeply reasoning, but having consciousness. Even we see with some animals, you see some flashes of consciousness, but obviously they are not deeply reasoning. So maybe since Melaike is oppositely similar to the animals, we can make use of this analogy also. Animals just see what they have in front, and they have little bit sense of what they see, but this little bit sense does not make them sure, right? We can say animals has lives, have spirits, but nobody can claim they have consciousness. It's like any food has salt inside, right? But the degree of salt makes them salty. You don't call a general food salty unless it has a lot of salt. So human beings have really consciousness to the degree they have a lot of, let's say, takes from consciousness. But it's not the case for animals to be called conscious. And when we switch back to Melaike, they have maybe better reflection than animals, but still this does not make them having a faculty of akal. It's a different faculty. Maybe we need to get deeper. I don't want to also but get out of the scope of the text, but these are nice discussions for us to understand what it really means to be an angel.
Yeah, these are question marks.
Right, good question marks to follow.
True. Thank you, brother.
But I think in general, the text reveals us, as I mentioned, if I had some evidence from Risale-i Nur to call Melaike zi akıl, I would consider, but I never ever saw this phrase, All right, so we couldn't switch to the second part. So we are almost done. Since we started a little bit late, apologizing. So if anyone has some comments up to here, Salih, I will start by you. Do you want to summarize, or do you want to just have some concluding remarks? Meanwhile, I'm waiting from chat or from volunteers to chime in.
Okay. Right. Okay. We couldn't have gone so far, but I guess we could just cover 2 or 3 slides. But in those slides, Ustad is basically explaining that angels have been they do not resemble by any means to human beings in the way they perform their duties, and their duties are basically supervising animals and plants, and depending on the species that they are supervising, their the way they salute, they proclaim, they make tasbihat to their creator is different, and this is a very I guess a subtle meaning. And Melaki have some sort of faculty of will, and what they are doing is not the same as what humans are doing. So humans have, for example, customs. We kind of repeat what we are doing, but angels are doing all of these just because they are worshiping their creator. I guess these are the main points, and these are the main points that remains in my mind.
Thank you so much. And I see Colin Hocam is back, so maybe you can conclude, Colin Hocam, if you want to say something on this part, if you could follow, even if not, from your wordings, we want to hear.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm sorry, I think I misunderstood the text that came about the change of time. So I came late to the party, as they say.
That's okay. So by this means we understood the value of you, once you're not here.
No, I'm sure it was a welcome rest.
It was very nice. Thanks to especially Salih and
Alhamdulillah.
But we missed you. And
I'll have to listen. I'll have to listen to it. No, I think just a very quick, just to say something at the end. The text talks about angels in some way ordering the voluntary actions of the species, of the different species. And I understand this in the final analysis to be an indication of the apparent wise purpose that we see in plant and animal life. We see plants and animals acting as though they are fully conscious of what they're doing. And I think that purposiveness is down to the presence of angels there. So if plants and animals, on different levels, of course, and in different, at different degrees, if plants and animals appear to be acting with wise purpose, as though they are acting towards a goal, it's because of the presence in them of angels at various levels, in various permutations and configurations. I think it's really as simple as that. It also extends to the whole causal network, which is something that we didn't really get to talk about. We live in a network of cause and effect, and this network of cause and effect is how we understand things, actually. And this cause and effect network is a network of knowledge and wisdom, and it works on those two things. It's actually a network of angels who are manifesting the wisdom of the Creator in the form of wisely purposeful actions and functions. That's as far as I can see. And I think there is room for much more speculation and much more study.
Thank you so much. You know,
Thank you
yeah,
very
we
much.
didn't mention the aims, so it's good that you just mentioned the purpose and aim that we see in any part of the universe. Can you conclude with a prayer, Colin Hocam, for us?
The prayer that we always use is Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. Oh Lord, the only knowledge that we have is the knowledge that you have taught us, and you are the all-knowing, the all-wise.
Thank you so much, and thanks everyone. Hope to see you next week.
Assalamu alaikum. See you next week.
Inshallah. I'm again sorry for being late.
Wa alaikum assalam, everyone.